Welcome back. It is day 4 of the Geography 100-day GCSE revision countdown thing, and today we're looking at reducing the risks from tectonic hazards. So let's get going. So how can the risks from tectonic hazards be reduced? Let's think about the management strategies. So we've got monitoring, which is using scientific equipment to detect warning signs. We have prediction, which is using historical evidence from the past and monitoring. We have protection, which is designing buildings in advance that will withstand tectonic hazards. And we have planning, which is identifying and avoiding places most at risk. Let's think about monitoring for a minute. Monitoring volcanoes. As magma rises through a volcano, it gives a number of warning signs that an eruption is likely to occur. If an eruption seems likely, warnings can be issued and action can be taken to evacuate the surrounding areas. They use this through remote sensing. Satellites detect heat and changes to the volcano's shape. Seismicity. Seismographs record earthquakes under the surface. Ground deformation is if there are changes to the shape of the volcano, which are measured using laser beams. Geophysical measurements, sorry, I'm very tired. These detect changes in gravity when magma rises to the surface. Changes in gas, so there are instruments to detect if gases are released when magma rises. And hydrology, if there are differences in measurements of gases dissolved in water nearby. And then monitoring earthquakes. Earthquakes generally occur with little or no warning. Whilst there is some evidence of change in water pressure, ground deformation and minor tremors prior to an earthquake, scientists have yet to discover a reliable way to monitor and predict earthquakes. The prediction of volcanoes. The prediction of a volcanic eruption is based on scientific monitoring. And prediction of earthquakes. It's impossible to make accurate predictions about earthquakes due to lack of clear warning signs. Protection from volcanoes. It is possible to use earth embankments or explosives to divert lava flows away from properties as a form of protection against the effects of a volcanic eruption. Earthquakes. It's possible to construct buildings and bridges to resist ground shaking associated with an earthquake. It's also possible to construct tsunami walls to protect the coast and people and important buildings like nuclear power stations. Planning for volcanic eruptions. Hazard maps have been produced for many of the world's most dangerous volcanoes, showing the areas likely to be affected. Earthquakes. Maps can be produced to show how the effects of earthquakes or identify the areas most at risk from damage. High-value land such as hospitals, reservoirs and office blocks can then be protected from these vulnerable areas. Let's think about the question. Earthquakes don't kill, buildings do. Use evidence to support this statement. So yesterday we looked at Chile and Nepal as 2 case studies. So if you think about them, Chile had a lot of infrastructure and a lot of the effects and secondary effects came from falling buildings. Similarly in Nepal, they were very poorly built, and so yeah, they just collapsed very easily, and therefore so many people were left without somewhere to live, and therefore water, sanitation, food and shelter, the basic human rights. So earthquake protection is the main way to reduce risk. It is possible to construct buildings and bridges to resist ground shaking associated with earthquakes. In Chile, for example, buildings have been reinforced with concrete columns prepared by or strengthened by a steel frame. Regular earthquake drills help to keep people alert and help them to be prepared. So some examples of building things that can make buildings more stabilised to help you develop this answer. There could be rolling weights on the roof to counteract shock waves. There could be automatic shutters that come down to prevent broken glass falling in or out of a building. There need to be open areas nearby for evacuation if a building is to collapse. and their walls are reinforced with steel and concrete to reduce movement. And there are also often shock absorbers underground to absorb the ground shaking to help these buildings not collapse in an earthquake. So yes, buildings do kill people. The primary effect of earthquakes, actually the shaking of the ground, doesn't kill that many people. It is the secondary effect, it is the collapsing buildings that do kill a lot of people. We've seen evidence of that in Chile, we've seen it in Nepal, we've even seen it in Turkey and Syria this week, so feel free to use any of those case studies as well. But that is it for this episode. That is the end of episode 4, so I do hope it has been useful. Subscribe down below so that you don't miss these. I am uploading one of these every day at 7 AM until your GCSEs start. It's a mad time for me as well. I'm not a geography teacher yet, but I am planning on it next academic year. I'm actually getting married. But if you want to see more videos about my actual life and not just geography, subscribe to my channel. Watch the vlogs, watch the wedding updates. Yeah, I'm getting married very, very soon, which is exciting. But yeah, I am going to consistently do this even when I'm on my honeymoon. You won't see me on my honeymoon, I will pre-film them. But yeah, I do hope these are useful. Share them with whoever you think might find them helpful, and I will see you same time tomorrow at 7 AM. Bye guys.